what structure and flow does is it teaches us how to activate empathy equally to discipline, equally to focus and action. And so what will happen when a leader works with the Fibonacci sequence, works with structure and flow, they will not only release the feelings of chaos, but they will become more able to really like dance with the wisdom that wants to move through them.
Welcome to the Leader's Mindset, where we bring you conversations with leaders who are making an impact in business and our communities. Today, I'm here with Jordanna Eyre. She's the founder of Spiral Growth Systems and known as the Chief Sorceress of Life and Business. She's going to talk to us today about staying rooted in the chaos of the world right now. Thanks for being on the show, Jordanna.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. It's really good to be here.
So, the first question on everybody's mind, how does one become a Chief Sorceress?
If there were a training program, my advice would be probably don't take it. What I'm referring to with the word sorceress is source, that creation energy that's inside of everything that we all have our own authentic intrinsic connection to. And so what led me there was putting down the books, putting down the mentors and the gurus, and going deep within to find it so that it could really like source itself through me in my life.
Fantastic. And I think that's great advice for everyone is you can read the books, you can listen to the gurus, you can take all the classes, but at the end of the day, we have to find all these things in ourselves, right?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I'm not saying don't go to mentors, don't hire a coach. Like those things can be very, very beneficial. And I would suggest anytime there's a call to do that, especially when it's related to like personal growth or spirituality or business, when there is a deeper need to connect to yourself, that it should always be like, I don't want to should, but that I would recommend it always be the next level of like, okay, how can I go deeper in here too?
I think that sounds great. So everybody who's watching or listening, I promise we're going to talk about the staying rooted in chaotic times stuff. But first, get out your pencils and your notebooks. Get ready for the mathematics portion of the podcast, because much of Jordanna's work is based on the Fibonacci sequence. So tell us what it is and what it can teach us about leadership and relationships.
Happy to. So I am not a mathematician, and the Fibonacci sequence, though it is a mathematical, well, the golden ratio aspect of it is a mathematical equation. It is rooted in creation. So scientifically speaking, it is the way that, well, this isn't the science part, but the science part is that there is a ratio that the way creation flows, it goes with equal amounts of structure and flow in the same golden ratio over and over. So if we look at this in our lives, first, if you like zoom out and you look in nature, you see a plant growing in a time-lapse video, or a sunflower that it grows around in spirals, right? And then we look at our bodies and we're like, oh, wait, our ears have spirals, huh? What we don't see is the spirals that are going through our businesses and our relationships and the chapters that we have as we age and grow. And those spirals, of course, are equally as important as nature's spirals. Nature can do it for itself. We humans need to be co-creators of our experience, right? So for us to be the creators inside of our experience, we need to co-create with that bigger energy of creation. You could call it God, source, the universe, time, whatever you want to call it. And the exact same structure and flow and the exact same ratio that moves through plants and through our bodies when we learn how to identify it in our businesses. And when we learn how to recognize the push and pull that feels like it's taking us down or that looks like a challenge, and how to work with it so that we're actually building a foundation to scale, what it will do is just like, well, you can't see the full Fibonacci sequence right behind me, but if you were to see it, you'll see that it starts with the foundation, then it scales out and out and out. And that's what we humans become able to do in our leadership, in our business, when we learn to move with the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, so we'll put up a graphic at some point while we're talking about this. I'll edit that in so everybody can see what we're talking about. For the real math nerds like me in the audience, the Fibonacci sequence is an infinite series where the next number in the series is the sum of the two numbers previous to it. So just to walk through the first few of them, it's 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, etc., right? That probably doesn't mean anything to most of us except the engineers and the math nerds like me. When you see this picture, which you probably have already seen by now, you will recognize this picture. You've seen it a million times in your life just as a picture of the Fibonacci sequence. But you will also, if you haven't already, as Jordanna's been talking, you will recognize that you see this pattern both visually and in other aspects of our life all the time. So this is something that is real. This is something that people have noticed for thousands of years. And it is a real part of the world. This isn't just something we're making up.
Yeah. It sounds like kind of woo-woo. Oh, well, it's in nature, so it must be in me. That sounds very overly spiritual and woo-woo, but it is scientifically proven. And I say we can't see it in business. Our eyes aren't trained to see it. But you can actually train yourself to see it. And then you're like, oh, I see how it all adds up identically in my life the way it does in nature.
Yeah, and just to put a point on that, I had an experience when I was a major in the Air Force. We had a captain working in our squadron. And he had a lot of experience with infinite series, and he was looking at a series of data, and he recognized the Fibonacci sequence in the data, and that broke the whole problem we were trying to solve wide open. So yes, it sounds kind of woo-woo. This is a very real thing. It has applications in science and engineering, and it has also applications for our personal and professional relationships, our leadership, and making our businesses stronger and better. So where did you first hear the Fibonacci sequence, and how did you know it was the thing you were looking for?
I didn't know it was the thing I was looking for until it found me. And for me, it didn't find me through school. The way I related to math and science in school, I got great grades. I got really good grades. But it was almost like I didn't understand it and I did at the same time. Like I could, have the top grade in my advanced calculus class, but I had no idea what I was really doing with math. It was almost like it was coming from somewhere otherworldly inside of me. And so I didn't take to it later in my years. I didn't do much with math or science. And I proceeded with humanities. I became a social worker and a bilingual teacher. And then when I opened my first company, it was an art center. So I was very creatively focused and humanity focused. And through the creative and humanity focus, I couldn't help but observe in my leadership how deeply personal growth was needed. It's I had to grow. I had to deeply work with my emotions if I wanted to be a strong and powerful leader. So the more that equated into my business, the more that came into my business, the more I started having literally otherworldly experiences. The deeper I went into my own emotional processing and connecting to my body, not the intellectualizing of my personal growth and spirituality, but what's here, deep in my body. It started to open me to, and it opened, there is science behind it. It opened my pineal gland. It opened other parts of my glandular system, right? So it opened my energy centers, which are Chinese medicine. And so as those pieces started to open, I started to see beyond just the physical world. And I started to see the Fibonacci moving through things. It took me a while to figure it out. I was like, oh, that's that spiral that I've seen everywhere. Oh, and it would be very disorienting at first. Though I wouldn't say that's not how it is for my clients because we walk them in more slowly. But for me, it was very disorienting at first until I figured out, and I started to surrender and lean into it. And then it started to show me even more of what was possible.
It sounds like you bring your clients and you're bringing us into this very gently, which is really great. What is fascinating about the Fibonacci sequence, it is hard math, but it also occurs in nature and in our lives. And what's fascinating to me about it is this balance of structure and flow. It's this balance of the mathematical and the humanity's the artistic side. And it is both things separately and both things together at the same time. So tell us what the Fibonacci sequence teaches us about the interplay of structure and flow in our own lives.
One of the big things, so this is actually parlaying into today's primary topic. So we as humans are always looking for more. Now, there's a wound in wanting more, right? There are parts of us that want more out of addiction or out of not enough. Those are the parts to work with and work on, right? But there is also a truth inside of us, like this intrinsic drive and desire to create. And so if we only go into that part, which often looks for a lot of people more like, actually, it depends on the person. Some people that is all structure and some people it's all flow when you go towards your intrinsic drive to create. So everyone's got kind of their go-to. And so for some people, if your intrinsic drive to create is like nuts and bolts, ROI driven leadership, then you're going to be like, okay, I am moving, doing, taking lots of action, right? That's the structure. But then what will happen is you'll go all the way into that. And if you only do that, you are going to burn out. You could be very successful, but you're going to be exhausted and you're going to hate it in the end. Or there are a lot of creative leaders who go towards creativity when they are driven to create. They're like, oh, I'm finally driven to create this thing. And then all they do is they flow in it and they lose track of time. And then they wonder why they are not as productive in what they're driven to create. And that's another version of like just flopping, right? We need to blend them together. And that's one of the primary things the Fibonacci sequence teaches us how to do. So when we work with the pull to create in structure, and we work with the pull to create in finding more flow, and we learn how to integrate them, which the push and pull, the tension inside of the past and present, like the actual numbers of the Fibonacci, the way you describe them, Jason, what's happening is it's not just that they're adding up. It's forcing us to stop in the present moment, look to the past and learn from the past, integrate that with the present, add the two together, and then we get the exponential next level, okay? When we are in that integration of, oh, I'm looking to the past and I'm adding it to the present, what will happen is we will be forced, essentially, lovingly, to integrate the structure and the flow. And so what will happen is we'll stop burning out. We will become more present in our leadership. We'll be able to lead with more time on our hands. And it will allow us to be more present even when it looks like there's chaos going on around us.
Yeah, I love that idea of balancing the structure and the flow. I think a lot of people really struggle with that, whether it's our training, whether it's our inherent nature, whether it's societal pressures or environmental pressures around us. Some of us are very structured like I am. Some people are very flow oriented. And that leads to not just conflict between each other, but conflict within ourselves. How can understanding the energy balances associated with structure and flow help us be better humans to ourselves and be better leaders to our team?
So the question is, how can understanding those energy balances help us be better to ourselves and better leaders to our team?
How can understanding it, and then what can we observe in ourselves and what can we do about it?
So a lot of those energy balances tend to come down to how we interact with the mind, how we interact with the body, and how we interact with the emotional systems inside of us. And at the end of the day, even if you're like, okay, but what about the spiritual aspect of me that needs balance? Yes. And we find like through those kind of three pillars, if you see it like a three-legged stool or chair, if we have the mind dialed in and it's connected to the body and it's connected to our emotional system, then we'll be able to truly understand whether the energy inside of us is balanced or not. And then we'll be able to work with those balances. And what will happen is like, let's look at where there's imbalance instead of the balance part first. What will happen with our teams or with our families if there's imbalance and the mind is overactive, our team is going to wonder why they feel talked down to, or why they feel like, you're saying a lot, but you're not actually like really present with them. Or your family will wonder why you're never really there if your mind is overactive, right? If your emotional system is overactive, you're just not going to show up as much. Like, you need to process those emotions, but chances are if that's overactive, then you won't be able to really lead your team with the systems and the presence that they need. They won't feel like you're there with them. They won't feel like you're disciplined. They won't actually feel you moving forward with them if you're emotionally imbalanced. And so then they won't move forward. Or with your family, they'll feel, especially depending on like the masculine and feminine dynamics. But if we're looking at a male leader, often the family tends to lean. This is not it's not always binary, but often the family would tend to lean on that male leader for a feeling of safety and security. And they don't feel that when he's emotionally imbalanced. And so when we understand those balances and we really find those three legs of the stool, we are more present. People trust us more. They will listen to instructions. They will actually follow them. Your team will be able to go off on their own, do their own thing, because you are like, your emotional system is actually tied to your business consciously, but it is. Like, for example, I have had periods of time where I'm kind of checked out emotionally of my business because I've got something else going on. And I'm like, okay, I need a few days to just go deal with this. And my team will, they'll keep moving forward. But when I get back, the really intuitive team members will be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're back. Like, I was doing it, but I feel so much safer doing it now. And all I have to do is physically show back up. So when you are balanced, all the things that you've been trying to get to work will actually start working, both in relationships and business.
That's really interesting because coming from a military and a tech and engineering background, and I think a lot of our audience is coming from very similar backgrounds, very scientific, very technically oriented. I am quite a linear thinker, and so this idea of balancing and the three-legged stool, it's a little foreign to us. And I know even though I know better, I find myself engaging in very linear thinking to get to a solution to solve a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
How can we shift our thinking to better fit the energy patterns you're talking about from linear thinking to a more balanced kind of thinking? Because a lot of us live up here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How do we shift from linear thinking up here? And then what are some of the benefits of that?
So we can actually take what I was just saying and turn it more linear. You could look at just the mind and just the body. Because at the end of the day, the other leg of the stool that I was talking about, that's the emotional system, actually belongs to the body. So we can pretend that it's not a thing for a moment and just go mind, body. And you can see it quite linearly. Be like, okay, is my mind connected to my body? Do I actually feel my physical? Can I feel my heartbeat? Can I feel my feet right now while I'm talking? Am I aware when I'm talking with my hands? Am I actually feeling? Am I aware that I have hands? And we can take this linear mind-body connection, and what it will do is it will actually dismantle, as we learn to live more in that mind-body connection, it will dismantle the linear aspects that didn't serve us. Now, I want to make it clear, being linear is not bad and it's not wrong. It is a gift. And there are other versions of linearity and of logic, we'll say. Let's actually call it logic instead. There are other versions of logic that will serve you even better when you learn to find that connection. What will happen, and I see this in all of my logical clients, it'll take them a couple months of like, whoa, I'm not sure I know up from down right now because I feel like I'm losing my initial sense of logic, because it's rewiring as your mind starts to talk to your body and your body talks to your mind. And then as it rewires, what will happen is all the logic that you already had still remains, and it improves and it becomes more creative and more intuitively guided.
So what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Don't shift or ignore your linear thinking. Use your linear thinking to get yourself to this place where you're making this connection, and it's going to be hard. So tap into your focus and your discipline, follow the process, and then let it take you where it's going to take you.
Sort of. Yeah. So we don't want to make our linear thinking wrong. We don't want to see it as a bad thing. There is some letting go of needing to think about everything though. Like I have a very close friend who every time, and he, like you can say the most profound thing to him and it'll hit him in the heart because he has a big heart. And then he'll be like, I'm going to go think about it. Like, okay. And I just let him go because I love him and I'm not trying to change him. But this person tends to not integrate things as much because he goes to think about it. So it's not that we want to take the linearity and use it to connect to the body. We want to see it as a gift, recognize it as a gift, but recognize it as a gift that can chill out for a minute. And you can learn new ropes in the body, but you can still see it as linear, like, okay, mind, body, but stop thinking so much. And when we stop thinking and we start connecting to the somatic experience of the body, which is just, what are you feeling? What is your body telling you right now? When we learn to access that, it will start to rewire our logic for the better.
That's great. You've worked with a lot of individuals and groups on this. I know from my own experience working with individuals and groups, there's always one who's in any group who's a little resistant to new ideas. So how do you use structure and flow to help people who are resistant to what you're teaching them overcome that resistance?
Oh, that's such a great question. Such a great question. I mean, everyone is authentic and different. And so what I find, so in structure and flow, when you are activated as a leader in structure and flow, you can see when someone is resistant but doesn't actually need anything from you. And sometimes what I do is I take an even bigger step back. This is sometimes. Because with that even bigger step back, they don't feel like I'm attached, because it is sometimes attachment in our leadership that can cause the person that we are leading or working with to stay resistant if they feel our attachment. So with those kind of people, I will just take an even bigger step back. There are others that do need a bit more structure. And with those people, I will step in and I will offer them, okay, you needed to be binary for a minute. Here's a step-by-step process you can follow until you let go of the map. And I actually do that in my teachings too. I will often teach something in a format and I use a lot of diagrams and drawings, and I'll draw something out and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to give you 4 steps and I'm going to give them to you in an order that you can do. If you're not familiar with these steps, start with this order. And then as soon as you got the order down and you're like, yeah, I feel like I can connect to each step, let go of the order. Just flow with it. And if people are ready, they can start flowing right away. So those are just examples of like how structure and flow. And you can take that and you can put that into leading, a tech department. You can put that into leading your CFO to keep your books better, etc.
Yeah, that's really great. It reminds me, when I was working on my MBA, we had a professor. He's actually a brand new full professor. He had just gotten his PhD. And so the first couple weeks of the class, everything was kind of like loosey-goosey. We're all real cool together. Let's just have conversations. And about week 5, he came in and he was like, okay, because we'd been having conversations for 4 weeks in class and turning in homework and that kind of stuff. He's like, okay, you guys aren't getting this. You're not getting what we're supposed to be talking about here and what you're supposed to be taking away from this. So I'm going to put a little more structure into this class. And that really helped us all kind of get a better handle on it. And I've seen that. I've both looking back on my time in the Air Force and working with people now. I've seen that is sometimes you do need to add structure when the energy is kind of all over the place. And sometimes when the energy isn't high enough, you need to pull back on the structure.
Such a good example. Such a good example. And you're reminding me of one of my favorite high school teachers. So my high school advanced placement chemistry teacher. And like I said, I did well in science, but I had no freaking clue what I was doing. So in AP chemistry, initially I was maybe kind of failing, like not doing well. I was not getting it. What I now understand that this teacher would do. So I'll fast forward real quick and then I'll tell you the other thing he did that was amazing. So with me though, I wasn't getting it. He sits me down, like all alone. I go to his classroom and I'm like, I don't want to fail. Perceiving that college is the best way. I got to go to college. I don't want to fail. What do I do? And he's like, look, you're actually one of the most logical students I have. You just don't know it. can you just let go? So he had been teaching me all the structure. And then what he did was he taught me how to let go of the parts of my mind that were trying to make so much sense of the structure, which is essentially what I teach leaders to do now. And I did. I was like, okay, I'm just going to breathe. I'm just going to let go. Like, oh, whoa, it's making sense now. And then I started to understand why this teacher would throw, I kid you not, tennis balls at students when they weren't paying attention. Because, and I know it sounds kind of like in today's age, unfortunately, I don't think you get away with it, but he did it with
that
love.
would not happen today.
That would not fly today. But he did it with so much love. The parents loved it. The students loved it. Nobody hated the guy. And what I now understand he was doing is he could see when somebody was getting mired in the structure and overwhelmed by the structure. It was like too much structure. So the tennis ball would shock their system, be like, wow. So they could just let go and laugh. And then they would open up the flow and understand the chemistry.
It's funny because I see a lot of parallels to watching leaders try to bridge the gap between tactical thinking and strategic thinking. And that's what strategic thinking really requires. You've become an expert in what you did at the tactical level. And you need to hold on to that, but you also need to open yourself up to get outside of the structure you've created for yourself to really be able to think strategically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've seen, I don't know a lot of people in the military. I do have one close friend who has told me stories of what it was like on the strategic level versus the tactical level, and just how incredibly different those, leading, and I'm speaking to the military specifically, where there's so much writing in your tactic and your strategy, depending on what your role is, but just those are extremely different roles, really.
Yeah, I think it's the hardest transition in leadership to make, whether you are talking about a military lieutenant colonel who's about to become a colonel or a general, someone in corporate who's about to go from being a manager or director to a VP or C-suite level, or even an entrepreneur who's really great at their technology or the process of what they do, and then becoming the CEO of their own company. Right? It's the hardest transition to make in all of leadership, I think.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of fear when someone makes that transition, especially if the transition means going up a level. Like I've seen it, it's fairly common for someone on the director level to move up to C level, for example, and be like, whoa, wait, now I'm leading people that used to be lateral to me. This is a big change. This is something I frequently work with people around, because it takes a huge mindset and embodiment change to feel like you can lead at that level with people that used to see you as, a partner, and now they see you as like, oh, you're above me.
I agree. Well, let's take a break from that. Let's play a game. Are you up for a game?
Absolutely.
All right. The name of this game is Rapid Response. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to respond with the first thing that comes to your mind. Now, that doesn't mean you have to give a one-word answer. Elaborate as much or as little as you'd like, but let's just get to know Jordanna Eyre a little better, okay?
All right.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Jordanna Eyre, rapid response round. Your time begins now. Podcast recommendation.
Ooh, my very, 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 very favorite is called Mormons on Mushrooms. I cannot get enough. It's kind of how it sounds and not how it sounds.
I have never heard of that, and that sounds fascinating. I'm going to have to look at that because I imagine it is exactly what it sounds like and nothing what it sounds like.
100% of both, yes. And it is it's two dudes who used to be Mormon, who now do a lot of psychedelics, who are learning and growing and playing music. It is not business focused. I do love business podcasts as well, but I cannot get enough of Mormons on Mushrooms.
Yeah, my favorite podcasts are actually not the business ones, the ones I tend to gravitate to, the ones I tend to look forward to listening to the most. See, folks, structure and flow, that's how we apply those lessons here at the Leader's Mindset.
Exactly.
What is a practice you'd like to see more people embrace?
Ooh, a practice. I mean, can I say two?
As many as you want.
Fascia release is a physical practice that OMG, when you learn fascia release, Oh, so much more peace and presence inside your body. So there's that. And then really, I would just say crying and emoting. And men and women and people who don't identify as, and people who are non-binary too. Anyone crying and emoting. Like learning to really get in touch with the feels and let them fly, create space for it. That is a practice that if we all did it, the world will be a better place when we all do it.
Yeah, I think we all need to get past what trying to figure out what the approved emotion for any situation is, and just kind of feeling what we need to feel at the time.
Agreed.
Who is someone we should all be paying attention to?
Oh gosh. Oh, that's not a rapid response for me.
Well, that's the joke. Is these are not
ourselves?
Really...
Well, I mean ourselves. Ourselves. Metaphysically speaking, our entire reality hinges on our relationship with ourselves. Like the way that we treat, and yes, the way we treat each other is so important. And what we do to give to the world, so important, and to give to the earth, etc. And if we don't give it to ourselves first, we actually don't have it for others. So ourselves, 100%.
Yep. Put your own oxygen mask on before you help somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just good for airplanes, it's good for everything in life.
Yes. I've been doing a lot of flying lately, so it has a very literal meaning for me these days.
Yeah. What's your go-to song to get pumped up, or your walk-on music?
Oh, okay. I am gonna give you a random. There are pump-up songs, but I'm going to give you one that actually pumps me up reverse because why not be different? It is called Spirit Bird by, I think it's Trevor Hall, but Spirit Bird. It makes me cry. And so it pumps me up because it makes me cry. So anything I've been holding on to that's like any little bouts of anxiety, anything that's like, I'm too tired to do this thing. If I release the energy, which this song helps me do, oh my gosh, am I pumped up? So I use that song actually to pump me up because I use it to release what's in the way of being pumped up.
That is a fantastic way of looking at that. Looking at and answering that question. I never thought of it that way. I think that's really great. So everyone go download that song and do a little crying and get released for whatever you have coming up next today. The biggest influence in your life?
Probably my mom. And it hasn't always been a perfect relationship. But when I really feel into what and whom has influenced, if it's a who, it's definitely my mom. If it's a who, it's definitely my mom. If it's a what, it's definitely emotions.
I think a who and a what are both perfectly acceptable responses to that question. We've had who's before, and we've had what's before. I think this is the first time we've had both a who and a what, though, so that's very cool. A book everyone should read. Okay. My probably all-time favorite book is going to sound like it's only for women, but it is not. It is called Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's a series of stories about the feminine, and the reason I recommend it for males and for leaders is it really helps you dismantle, for lack of better words, where patriarchy has been woven into things, because it is actually patriarchy that stops us from integrating structure and flow. And it's a series of stories, so it's very easy to read and just take in, but it's also very potent, like an experience. Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. All right. Sounds like it's worth a read. Best autumn recreational activity.
Autumn? Can it not be winter?
It can be winter.
I don't know autumn. I don't know autumn because I mostly don't go to places where there's seasons. And if I go to places where there's seasons, I only do winter for skiing. So my favorite winter recreational activity is skiing.
You're in Egypt right now, right?
I am. It is. It's September 18th, and it's hot as, I won't use any swear words, but it's hot.
I mean, if you really want some skiing, I don't know if they still have it. When I was in Qatar, the mall in Doha had a ski slope like an artificial ski slope in the mall, in one of the malls there.
That is so cool. Maybe I'm flying to Sydney after this, where it's also going to be warm. But maybe I'll like find a way to fly through there and get some skiing in first.
Yeah. Take a quick flight from Egypt to Qatar, and then get either on Qatar Airways or Emirates, because even their coach section's like as good as an American domestic first class section, and then take that long flight to Sydney.
Thank you for the recommendation, Jason. I think I might do it. I'm going to look into it at least. Thank you.
Awesome. So you are pretty much doing a lot of traveling right now. You've probably been to a lot of your dream vacation spots. What's a spot you still want to get to?
That I have not gone to that I still want to get to?
Yep.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Like Australia is definitely one I'm excited about, but it's mostly to see friends and there's just something about it. Vietnam, I have not made it to. And I loved Thailand, and I just get a sense that I'm going to love Vietnam just as much. So Vietnam, I don't know. I've pretty much made it to everywhere that was like high on my list, and now I'm checking off the next levels.
That's great. We had a guest on the podcast a little more than a year ago. He's a filmmaker and an Army veteran, and he got tapped to go with a group of Army veterans who were being brought back to Vietnam for the first time since they left in the 60s and 70s as part of a veterans group program. So and that was really amazing to talk to him about that experience.
Oh, that's really neat. That's very cool. Yeah.
What is a trend you're excited about?
A trend. Finding what's in the middle. I would say and I don't know that we want to go super political. I don't think we want to go super political, but there's whatever kind of division we see in the world, the trend I also see, thank God, developing is people going, wait. What if it doesn't have to be sides? What if it doesn't have to be this and that? What if you can actually love both? Or what if there's a truth that actually just exists in the middle? And it has truly become a trend. And oh, am I grateful and excited for what else is developing there.
Yeah, what if we could all just be cool?
Right?
So maybe everybody go listen to that song and then just be cool.
Cry it out and then you'll just be cool.
All right, last one. Favorite sports team or player?
Oh, God. I mean, my favorite sport would be soccer. It's the only sport I can actually watch and not get bored after 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, basketball's okay too. I don't know any players and any teams. I just hear people talking about them.
Quite all right. It's we've had plenty of people come on the show and go, I don't know sports.
I wasn't raised with sports, and I never took to it on my own. It just never became a thing for me.
Okay, I have never been a huge soccer fan, and I have a new appreciation of it because I started watching that show Welcome to Wrexham about Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who bought a Welsh a Welsh soccer team in the leagues there, and watched their progression up. And what's funny is I am always bored by soccer, right? But the way they cut these episodes is like all the highlights are in like 4 minutes. I was like, now you got yourself a game.
Ah, interesting. You know, my partner watches soccer like in the background, like on a lazy Sunday afternoon when he's tired and he just wants to chill out. He'll turn on English Premier Football League.
Yep.
Football, right? That's his thing. And he kind of watches it, but it's always on in the background. And then I was listening to my favorite podcast, Mormons on Mushrooms, the other day, and one of the hosts was saying that he does the same thing. That soccer's like it's become his like background thing that brings him peace somehow. So I guess it's a thing.
I can see that. I can see that for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for playing our game. It's good to get to know you a little bit that the other questions might not let us find out things about you we like to find out.
Yeah, good game.
Okay, so I promised we were going to get to this, and now we're finally going to get to this. I think it's fair to say we're living in pretty chaotic times. How much of the chaos is really external chaos, and how much of this do we inflict on ourselves?
Oh, that is the best question, Jason. That is such a good question. Most of it we inflict on ourselves, and it's not binary. It's a yes and. There is a lot of chaos, and it depends how deep we want to go down the rabbit hole or into theories of why and what else is going on in the world. But there's ways in which chaos is being inflicted upon us, right? Whether you think of it as like, I don't know how deep we want to, there's philosophies of like, is there a shadow government? Things like that, like, I don't know. I don't claim to know anything, but that is a way in which chaos would be being inflicted upon us. And the way that technology is growing. It is creating, though it is really improving a lot of things in the world, it is also causing more chaos. That being said, most chaos, as you very aptly discerned with even the question, even asking that question shows like, oh, well, it's, to ask the question, you would have to know it's a thing, right? So much of the chaos is how we receive things, how we react or respond to things. Right? What goes on inside of us. And then we can take that, and that's 100% true, but then we can take that even deeper into another layer of truth. I put quotes around truth because anytime we deem something true, it's got another layer, right? But we can take that awareness of like, okay, it's how I react, how I respond. That's in me. Take it into another layer of, and we really are creating this reality of our own experiences. Right? The presence of I am and the beliefs of I am that each of us hold actually create the external experience too. And it's not to say that that means that it's your fault now if a war just broke out. My God, of course not. And the way that we relate to everything that's happening is very much part and parcel to the experience that we're cultivating inside of here first and foremost. So it's most of it, really.
Yeah, and I think most people again understand that kind of intellectually, and often we need to learn how to internalize it. How can the methods and techniques you teach help us, for lack of a better term, clear out the chaos we inflict on ourselves to make us more resilient to deal with the external chaos?
So the methods that I teach will clear away the thoughts that don't serve, the emotions we've been holding on to. It will clear away the cellular level matter, like the physical matter. So when you think of if you've ever heard of alchemy is not turning lead into gold. I mean, that is a form of alchemy, but the ancient practice of alchemy was never really that, right? It was always actually about an internal strategy of turning what doesn't serve us, the matter inside of our bodies and our minds, into something that better serves, into that gold, right? And so the strategies and the practices and the embodiment that I teach, the activations that I teach with my students will help them to release all of that. And then it will help them to ignite a wisdom that is authentic, that is unique. And whether that is, so I work with, it's kind of 50-50. About half of the leaders that I work with come to me going, I'm not entirely sure what my purpose or my legacy is, and I need to find it. And then the other half come to me saying, I know what it is. I'm just exhausted and burnt out, and I feel like it's taking away my freedom trying to scale it and get there. Either way, what I teach will bring you, because it does so much clearing, it will then bring you to a state where you're aware of your gifts and you're aware of your wisdom, and you're translating it to the world with far greater ease, and you're translating it to your business with far greater ease. So you can do more. You can, instead of feeling like you're wearing 10 hats, you can scale your embodiment as a leader and actually do more with less time and effort.
Fantastic. You mentioned technology as a source of external chaos. How can all of this help us wrap our minds around the rapid pace of change? And one of the things I really like to see people do, or I advocate for, is let's embrace technology to enhance our humanity. How can we do that?
Yeah. Really good example, or really good question. Really good question. The reason I slipped and used the word example, I do have an example to share. It's a little less in the humanity department. So let me share to humanity first, and then I'll share the example that's coming through. So what structure and flow does is it teaches us how to activate empathy equally to discipline, equally to focus and action. And so what will happen when a leader works with the Fibonacci sequence, works with structure and flow, they will not only release the feelings of chaos, but they will become more able to really like dance with the wisdom that wants to move through them. And for each of us, there is empathy at play. So someone who doesn't have a lot of empathy or doesn't see themselves as empathetic, it's usually because there's something they've been holding on to that is some sort of a deeper fear or a trauma or a wound. And when that releases, it will ignite and activate humanity. Now, it can do it on the tech side too, and that's the example that was coming to share. So I have a student who he's about to sell his second company. His first company was a unicorn. And he's now moving into selling his second company. And this was even more of like a purpose-based company, blood, sweat, and tears mission. And what he found when he used this work and the Fibonacci sequence in his leadership was that he's in cybersecurity. And so through technology and the technology that he was leading the way to scaling and bringing into the world on a greater level, he started to identify the quantum realms. And now he's moving into becoming a speaker on all things quantum. And he's an amazing speaker on all things quantum. And that's the kind of thing that's like hard to grasp for a linear mind. But it's exactly the kind of thing that when we find new levels of logic in those same minds, we can scale our awareness of what's going on inside of technology and then integrate that with humanity too.
That's fascinating. That was going to be one of my questions as we got to the end is how can we, this is great for personal and professional relationships, but how can this be applied to more success in our professional lives and scaling our businesses? And you answered that beautifully for me without me even having to ask. So you and I, over the last couple of weeks as we were setting this up, had a couple of really nerdy conversations about the tech we use to do our podcasting. What are some of the other kinds of tech you're embracing in your work? And how are you using it to meet your goals while still maintaining structure and flow?
So I've been on a couple tech exploration ends. One has been in production because I'm all about having as high quality video production as possible, but I'm traveling. So I've really been embracing what's possible with travel tech for video production. That's been a little annoying though, to be honest. Like that has definitely been a learning curve for me. What has been more exciting is learning to integrate a tool like Fireflies, like something that can scrub all of my content so I can just get on and speak. Or, I'm on my way back from the gym and I have an awareness because the more connected to my body I am, the more like things will flow through me. So often when I'm walking home from the gym, I need to record something. So I can just quickly record, pop it into my Fireflies, connect it to my Claude. So I'm exploring like all the possibilities of content creation that allows me to still write it, but also utilize the power of AI to scale how much content I can create. And it's been fun. A little challenging because you have to really work with it to make sure that it's your voice. And then sometimes I just get a strategy. I'm like, oh, it gave me a good framework. And then I write it entirely myself because I didn't like what it gives me. But it does tend to beef up how much we can produce.
I do that all the time. I see what an LLM gives me, and then basically it comes out as an opportunity to treat the LLM as like, this is a collaborator I'm working with, not a robot that does work for me. Because if I just treat it as a robot that does work for me, it doesn't always give me what I'm looking for, and I get really mad.
100%. And I'm learning to create like custom GPTs for various things, team leadership, like giving better SOPs to my team, because I run a small business. Like I have a lot of hats to wear, and I don't have that much time to lead the 5 to 7, depending on what phase we're in, people in my team. But I need to lead. I do have somebody project managing, but I need to do a lot of the leadership. And so working with custom GPTs has been another thing that's allowed me to get the SOPs out and like get it out quickly and very well structured, right? So that I can get back into the flow.
Yeah, I have I think custom GPTs are going to be my next step on the learning curve. And I think I have a project that's going to be well suited to that. So that's going to be something I start probably next week.
They're exciting. Very exciting stuff.
Is there any other tech you're really excited about out there?
I mean, there's a lot I'm curious about. Like, which direction are we going to go? There's a lot. Longevity is another area that I continue to explore and get curious about. And I see a lot of paradox there. I mean, as is creation and humanity, there's a paradox grows us. And I've been observing in the longevity world, there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, ooh, is that going to actually be good for us in the long run? And then there's other stuff that's very clear and other stuff that's somewhere in between. But I'm very intrigued by it, interested in it, and I love digging into it and seeing what's possible.
That's fantastic. So what's coming up for you for the rest of 2025 and into early 2026?
So a handful of months ago, we created a 5-day challenge called the Make Time Your Ally Challenge. And we are now moving into offering it every 2 to 3 months on the regular. So that's very, very exciting. And our initial round of it went really well. We're about to offer a second round. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but there will be. Like if you go to my website, you're going to find the Make Time Your Ally Challenge. And we're very excited because for the longest time, my programs have all been higher level. Like you need to invest in a 9-month program or, to work with me one-on-one, you usually have to go through the program. And so the work that I do is quite deep and people have been dying for like, how do I really dip my toes in the water and make absolutely sure I'm going to get the ROI? Make absolutely sure that, gosh, this doesn't make sense, but can I take to it so that I do get the transformation? And so this challenge is what we've developed for people to be able to do that. And we're also, it's been a really, really, really cool integration too, because integrating business and spirituality is what I do. And it is getting people amazing results around time and how much time, like what they can do inside of their time and their energy levels as leaders. But it's also getting them amazing results in terms of like spiritual activation and really connecting to themselves on deeper levels. So that's what time does. So that's the biggest thing. We did also just create a 4-part training series that I'm really excited about too. If you go to my website, you should find a 4-part training series that is like an introduction to the 5-day challenge, really, like how to unravel the hidden patterns that are keeping you stuck, or maybe you're not stuck, but that are draining your time and energy and productivity and money flow maybe. So that 4-part series is coming out and we've got challenge. So there's a lot of cool stuff that we're unfolding and letting out into the world now.
All right. Well, we'll get that all linked up in the episode description, so nobody has to go look that up. Everybody go check that out. Take those first steps. Get yourself on the path here to integrating your structure and flow. So
yes.
For everyone watching or listening right now, what's one thing we can do today to help set ourselves up for success using the ideas of structure and flow?
I mean, this is so simple, but breathe. Because there is a lot of chaos going on around in the world right now. And if we can just breathe and take a step back and find presence, like take space and presence. And the other thing is to really find a space of sovereignty. The more you give yourself space to like be you and not feel like you're surrounded by a bunch of other people's energy, the more you're going to be able to root inside of the chaos and have the presence you need to lead your ship, your proverbial ship forward. And that's all something we can do like right now.
Yeah, we love things that are simple and things that we can remind ourselves that we should be doing every day or a few times every day. This has been amazing. I want to thank you for joining us, Jordanna. Where can everyone find you so they can also thank you for joining us today?
So my website, spiralgrowthsystems.com. I don't know, Jason, will I be giving you links to things or not? Maybe.
I'll probably find some. I'll probably ask you for some.
Yeah.
But I will make sure the links are there for the audience.
There we go. So the website is spiralgrowthsystems.com. Social media, the best place to find me is LinkedIn or YouTube. I only started building a YouTube channel recently, so it's not like some huge channel, but there's a bunch of great stuff on there already. So if you go to my YouTube channel, which the handle is at Spiral Growth Systems, or my LinkedIn profile, the handle is, I believe, Jordanna Eyre.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all great places to find me. And I am all about building communities. So, as crazy busy as I am, and normally I've got like a structure to booking calls, I'm open. Like, you can DM me on LinkedIn and we'll chat.
She'll have some time to DM while she's waiting in line to ski on the indoor ski slope at the mall and go on.
Exactly. So I'm sure that mall will have Wi-Fi too, no problem. I
imagine it does, because they seem to have everything over there. So I want to thank all of you for watching and listening today. If you found this conversation valuable, please share it with someone who can use it. Leave us a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're on a podcast platform and you can give us a 5-star review, please go ahead and do that. It helps us build our audience and get these great interviews out with people like Jordanna to more and more people. There's this new thing on YouTube called the hype button. If you've got that, go ahead and hit that for us. I don't really know how it works. I read about it. I'm doing more research, but go ahead and hit that hype button if you're watching on YouTube. We have so many more amazing leaders that we're going to interview over the coming weeks. So go out there, do great things today. Onward and upward.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks, Jason.